So I just said to a friend, a mother is only as happy as her unhappiest child at any given moment. And 65 years ago, a mother named Jane Ellsworth was very unhappy. Her teenage daughter, Patricia, was suffering from mysterious symptoms and finally diagnosed with myasthenia gravis. And of course, Jane had never heard of this disease, nor had anyone else she knew. And of course, like any one of us, she searched for information, but think about it back then. You know, have we forgotten? There's some of us old enough to remember when you wanted to learn something, where'd you go? The library. You went to the library, you tried to get on. Sometimes there were, a little bit later there were microfiche, but there were books, and they would tell you to go which journal, and then you'd have to go see if you could find that journal. And of course, it was always missing. And that's what Jane Ellsworth was trying to do. And what she could find, the little bit that she could find about myasthenia gravis, was not very encouraging. While today MG is one of the best understood neurological diseases, it wouldn't be until 1960 that scientists, in the 60s, I should say, that scientists identified the antibodies that they realized were the culprit. And wasn't it so cool last night to have Dr. Arthur Strauss here with us, who is a part of the history of MG research and has helped us to have so much progress. What Jane learned, MG was fatal in about 30% of those who had it. Mestinon was the only known treatment, and it was just found to work in MG serendipitously. It was for nerve gas. That's where it had come from. It had come from use in the military to protect people who might be exposed to toxic substances. So Jane wanted answers, and like many of us, she wanted to find others with the same experience. And so in 1952, this mom founded the Myasthenia Gravis Foundation of America. And it was pretty easy back then. No one knew the cause of MG. Nobody really knew how it worked. It was easy to hope there would be a straight pathway to a solution, just like they were seeing in the early 50s in polio, the scourge of polio that terrified a nation and the world. Jane was hoping for a vaccine that would eradicate MG from the world, just as we later saw with polio. But MG proved more complex. There was to be no vaccine, no magic bullet. However, there was progress, and with this, the understanding of MG as an autoimmune disorder, the introduction of immunosuppressive therapies, better management of symptoms, the use of immunoglobulin and plasma exchange therapies saved many lives. So today, instead of 30%, the fatality rate for MG is 4%, or less. But it's a sobering thought, isn't it? Without this progress, a third of us with MG in this room would not be here. So we're grateful to the clinicians and scientists who worked so hard and saved so many lives. But it's not quite time to celebrate. So no big 65th anniversary. We're waiting for that celebration for a time when it's better than it is now. Because 4% is still 4% too many. MG continues to disrupt lives, hopes, and dreams. In a survey that we did last year, through social media, through an e-blast to the people that we knew, to say, tell us about your experience with MG. 80% of the nearly 700 respondents reported that their MG symptoms affect their lives every day. Just last week, thanks to a grant from our friends from Alexion, we conducted an online focus group, and you'll get the results of that. I was hoping to have it when we came. We had to delay a little bit, but you'll get the results of that through our communications. And if you don't get mail from us, make sure you sign up and do. This group was a focus group of people with refractory MG. They reported frequent hospitalizations, loss of employment, the inability to enjoy social and athletic activities, and days when just getting out of bed seemed too much. They talked about side effects of treatments like weight gain, diabetes, osteoporosis, GI issues, headaches, infections reports, and more. And what did they want? Targeted, better therapies. So if this weren't enough, staff at MG hear every day from people who do respond to known treatments and are encountering roadblocks to the very treatments that work for them. Denials for generic Cellcept, escalating copays for Mestinon as much as 600%. It's like an 80-year-old drug, 600%. I've been talking to a guy in Pennsylvania who took his appeal. He'd been on Cellcept for 10 years, denied. He's taken his appeal all the way to the ALJ and hasn't succeeded. Now, thank you to the generosity from Genentech, the company. He's still getting his Cellcept, but he worries every month that that's going to go away. This is wrong. And our MG physicians and healthcare professionals who studied so long to treat patients are instead spending more and more time arguing appeals. It makes me want to bite someone. Fortunately, none of you. I promise. But even with this frustration, I can stand here in front of you today and say we are living in the most exciting and promising time in the history of MG. 2016 was a banner year for MGFA, just for the organization, except for the year that we received the Cummings Research Endowment. And thank you, Esther Land, if you're still here, for your work and making that happen. It was the most successful fundraising year ever. We received 2 remarkable, unexpected, and generous bequests, and a $50,000 research-restricted donation from an 84-year-old woman in Long Island, who is our Philanthropist of the Year, Mona Roth. Mona can't be with us today. We'll give her award at our international conference because she's in New York, so her family will be able to be there. She gave a $50,000 gift for research because she wanted to say thank you to the physicians and the scientists who saved her life. So she was in very bad shape. Some physician tried rituximab, and it turned her MG around. So she just wanted to say thank you. The MG Walk revenue is up by 40%, or $40,000. Individual donations to MGFA increased by 68,000, which was about 40%. When does that happen? It was fabulous. So these successes are allowing us to implement new programs in 2017. Such as our MG Friends Peer Support Program. Are there any people who are peer supporters? I'm pretty sure some of you who signed up to be MG Friends are here. Yep, I see a few. Thank you so much. This is going to allow us to make sure every new contact, everybody who calls the office for help for the first time, will have a follow-up call from a qualified peer support person, somebody with MG, to say, did you get what you need? You know, is everything good? You know, do you have any other questions? So fabulous. So we also launched an ambitious 3-year research funding program. So that where we have a schedule, we know we're going to fund. We know we have the funds to fund our patient registry through that time. So it's just an exciting time where we feel much more stable and much more able to say to the research community, you can count on us for this. Thank you. So we also will launch a program called Partners in MG Care to better identify and connect MG patients with physicians who are the experts in MG care. It makes such a difference. If you find that right doctor who can treat you, and those of you who found it, you're like, yeah, now I know. We want people to be able to easily find physicians with expertise. And that includes supporting physicians in areas where, you know, we don't expect to find necessarily people who are going to be MG specialists. But Dr. Ruff, who's really helping us to grow this program, has identified some clinicians in Montana. And we can nurture those. We can hook them up with the really top physicians and help to grow them and help them to learn. So in 2006, 16, you saw the breakthrough studies. You heard Gil talk about the thymectomy study. Amazing. The more than 10 years, as he reminded me. I said, 10 years? He's like, more than that. From conception to publication. And the first international consensus publication on treatment of MG. But 2017 can be any better. So my slogan, 17 can be better. And my slogan now is, this is not your grandfather's MGFA. You know, we changed the logo. Diane Old was like, why'd you change the logo, Nancy? And I'm like, well, Ed Walsh asked me the same thing. And I said, first of all, well, Ed, it's 15 years old, it's dated, and it's but ugly. But, but it was more than that. First of all, it's square, the old logo, and we're not square. We're going to be adventuresome. We're going to reach out. We're going to be more than that. We also knew that the MG community said the color was teal. There was no teal in our logo, and I'm kind of like, you know what? They're like, where did teal come from? And I was like, I don't know where it came from, but if they say our color is teal, our color is teal. And thank goodness this conference isn't any longer, because you have seen all of my teal clothes. So, and teal nails. And that was Diane also said, well, somebody else at this support group thing said, yeah, Nancy, and that old logo wouldn't have looked nearly as good on your nails. So another good reason to change it. But a hint of a snowflake, the teal, and also the logo no longer says MGFA, it says MG. Myasthenia Gravis Foundation of America, sure, our name's in there. But we want to be the hub for the MG community. We want our friends in social media, our friends from other organizations. We want to work with NORD. We want to work with Research America. We want to work with National Health Council organizations. We want to be the hub for anybody who wants to come to MG. And the MG community is more important than any one organization. So that's who we want to be, and that's where we're going. And that's a little bit about why we're rebranding. Again, we're just not your grandmother's MGFA. We have some BHAGs. What, Jim Collins? How many have read Jim Collins' book, Good to Great? Yep. So Betty, I know has. What Jim Collins called BHAGs are big, hairy, audacious goals. So for years, we've been impatient for targeted disease-modifying therapies in MG. This is going to be the year, maybe, we hope. Fingers crossed. So we know eculizumab is going for review. And we also know that this works. For those of you who were at the clinical trials breakout, heard Roisin talk about this works on complement inhibition. And she did, I thought, a pretty good job of explaining what complement was. I'm so sorry that she's not here to do it again, because I'm not going to try. But what I do know is that in 2010, MGFA funded a small pilot study on complement, the role of complement and complement inhibition. So 2010, there was certainly interest before. 2017, the wheels of research turned slowly, but they are turning in MG. And so it's possible that this year we will see that first disease-modifying therapy for refractory forms of MG. This is a big deal in itself, but even bigger than it sounds. Once one drug is approved, once MG is recognized as a disease that can be modified, where the course of the disease could be modified by treatments, the door is open for more interest, more investment, more treatments. And we saw this in multiple sclerosis. For so many years, there was nothing. Then with one approval in 1993, the doors opened. Now there's 16 disease-modifying therapies in multiple sclerosis. I'm not saying we're going to have 16 in 20 years, but we need more than just one therapy, because what do we know? We're not all the same. This is a snowflake disease. One therapy is not going to do it for MG. We need choices because we react differently in both efficacy and tolerance of side effects. So the good news here, right now we're seeing new investments in clinical trials in MG. The company UCB just announced a new phase 2 trial. There's trials, and we, in fact, we helped them do a focus group, because they're like, we're not sure we can do a trial in MG. You know, we need to find out. So some of you may have participated in that focus group. It was about 6 months ago or so, an online focus group. And what they learned from that was enough to say, we're going to go ahead. So we've got a trial that was phase 2 trial just announced. There's trials in subcutaneous treatment with immunoglobulin. Wouldn't it be nice to just have a shot instead of an infusion? Maybe a less invasive delivery system. You heard about Dr. Nowak's phase 2 trial in rituximab. It's exciting. You heard from John Lindstrom about his exciting work. There's interest in industry from other companies, names of companies you may not even know yet. Alpha Cancer Technologies, Raw Pharmaceuticals, Alnylam, Apellis, Catalyst, and others. They're out there, and there's interest in MG, and I want you to know that, because I want you to know stuff's happening that you may not see on the surface yet, but they're things that are exciting that are moving forward for us. That's why I'm gonna plug it again. I think I may plug it one more time even. I met David Meeker at the National Health Council meeting. I wasn't even CEO yet. I knew I was going to be, but I hadn't officially taken the job. And I got to go to the National Health Council, and I saw David Meeker, who is the head of Sanofi Genzyme. And he was there with a friend of mine who used to work for the MS Society and was working now for Genzyme about their MS drug. So I went up to David, not being shy, and said, David, what does it take to get Genzyme and Sanofi into our space? How do I get you interested in doing trials? He said, well, we're not uninterested. We've got kind of a little bit of an eye on MG. He said, but we have to know we can do a successful trial. Do you have a patient registry? And I was so excited, I got to say, yes, we do. And he said, that's a great start. Because if we know we can get the information that we need, we are much more likely to invest in. There's plenty, he said, honestly, Nancy, there's plenty of rare diseases out there. If we're going to pick one, we need to pick one where we know we can do a successful trial. So we're really working hard to work with industry as well. There's money there. MGFA is only going to be able to fund so much. There's money in industry, and it's important to us. So we also want the smartest and best minds in the world working on MG. That's why we fund fellowships. And in just a few weeks, more than 300 scientists and clinicians from around the world will convene at the 13th International Conference on Myasthenia Gravis and Related Disorders. We expect a full house, a sellout with the 300 attendees. That's how much room we've got. So we're also launching a webinar. We've got 500 seats at a webinar. That'll be announced next week. And from meetings like this, new ideas are born. When you think about all those scientists coming together, more than 60 speakers from around the world. Requests for abstracts went out. We have more than 100 abstracts submitted for posters and hot topic sessions for this. So I'm pretty excited. We're going to be, all things going well, you met Tara, maybe, D'Amelia, who is here from Telmed, our partner. We're going to be trying to live cast Facebook, stream Facebook, like I know how to do this, but somebody does, right from that conference. So not only do all those scientists get to see this, all of you can tune in. You can just look at these interviews with these scientists and clinicians. Now, some of the stuff, I always say, if I don't understand any of the words in the title except and the, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to understand the lecture. But, as we get interviews from some of these people, they can get it to a level that we can understand. Requests for abstracts are already out for 2 new pilot grants. And we're also focusing this year on convening experts to better clearly define our standard diagnostic criteria for myasthenia gravis, and then make sure we get this information out, not just to neurologists, but to optometrists and ophthalmologists and even primary care physicians, in the hope of earlier recognition and testing for MG. I'm sure a lot of you went through a long years of symptoms with nobody noticing until it got bad enough. Somebody's like, oh, that eyelid is closed all the way. So, and then somebody actually realized what it was. So for those of us with MG, after years of science that seem to be moving too slowly, it's almost like the stars are finally aligning. So much happening all at once. So what does it mean to us? I mentioned the registry. I'm going to mention it again. It's why it's so important. And I want to recognize two people from the MG community, Roger and Celia Meyer. Roger Morse and Celia Meyer, would you stand wherever you are? Are you in the room? I see Roger back there. Celia, are you here? Defeating MG is going to take all of us, like maybe more than a village. And I think that in this room are the leaders who are going to take us to the finish line. So I'm going to ask you to stand, some of you, as you go along. So if you're already standing like Roger, but you see yourself, if you see yourself in something else, stay standing and wave so we know. So can I ask all of you who serve as board members to stand? And I'm standing. Thank you much. Don't sit down. Stay standing. Stay standing. You know, you guys give so much. Do you know they pay to come to these, they pay their own way to come to board meetings. They contribute. They lead walk teams. You guys are awesome. And how about our MG organizational staff, including our walk staff and other and staff from other organizations? Can you stand too? And our friends from industry, you know, those of you who are here, I think some of you may have already left, but we've got any of our industry partners here. I know we had people from Terumo BCT, a plasma exchange company, from Grifols and SCSL Bearing. They make immunoglobulin. We had our wonderful friends from Excelicare. We had our wonderful friends from Alexion. They're helping us, so we thank all of you as well. So MG organizational staff, I just want to say something to you. We thank you. Yes, we know you get a paycheck. I also want to know you work many more hours than you are paid for. I so appreciate the dedication that you, especially the MGFA and walk staff, bring to your jobs every day. So I particularly want to thank Larry, James, Kathy, Nikisha, Susan, Rich and Danielle. Rich is gone. You know, this would not have this is a conference for 200. There's like 5 of them, and they're just amazing. So thanks to them. All right, now don't sit down. Don't sit down. No sitting. No sitting. No sitting. If you're up, you're up. And don't forget, if you're doing more than the one thing I asked you about, you have to wave. So, MG support group leaders, would you please stand? You give tirelessly. You give tirelessly to those in your community. You are the face of MGFA and the lifeline for so many people with MG. We love you, we thank you, and I also want to thank support group participants. Remember when I said it's not just the leadership that makes things happen. So if you're in a support group and you give to others, please stand. I suspect you give as much as you get, and when you give, you also receive. It just works that way. Are you an MG healthcare professional or a scientist? If so, would you stand? Now, Charlene, Bob, Marilyn, Catherine, Suzanne, who are already standing. Now you wave, remember? Okay, so wave too. I remind you, these top professionals pay their own way to come here and talk to us. I don't know how that works. They must be nuts, but try not to tell them. So thank you so much. You guys, you mean so much to us. Walk team captains, stand. Wow, it was so much fun to celebrate your accomplishments last night. We couldn't do our work without your contributions. Family members, care partners for somebody with MG, wow. Parent, spouse, partner, child, sibling, friend, would you stand again and wave if you're already standing? So you're getting the idea of this right now. Nobody should have to face MG alone. You are our support system, and you make sure we don't have to, and we love you. And all right, how about that patient registry? If anybody who's in it is registered, would you stand or wave if you're already standing? Again, we want better treatments. This is what we do. Have you made a donation to an MG cause, MGFA, or any other organization with MG? Yeah, all right, wave too. Participated in a walk or a fundraising event? Yeah, you're getting the idea. How about being an MG advocate? Have you written an email, a letter, or called your congressperson or stood up to an insurance company? This is going to be even more important because we're going to have to be loud and demanding so I don't have to bite people. So thank you for your waves here. How about those of you in social media? How important is that? Who took the time to provide support or encouragement to somebody else in Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever you do? Yeah, thank you so much. Have you done something to spread MG awareness? Told your story? Explained MG to an acquaintance, to a stranger? Traveled to a conference to meet others with MG? Figured out how to make a difference? All right. So, well, look at this. Everybody's standing and waving. I think some of you have aching arms from having to wave so much, but I'm going to ask you to wave one more time. I want you to turn around and face that camera and wave one last time to that camera to all the people who want to do something about myasthenia gravis but couldn't be here with us today. And then you can sit down. Thank you all out there. Then you guys can sit down. Give yourself a big hand. And you who are not here with us, you out there, there's a place for you in MGFA and in the MG community. Every one of us has something that we can do to make a difference. We are the leaders who are going to change the world for people with myasthenia gravis. So to all of you here and to all of you at home, I say, believe. We have more reason than ever before in history to be hopeful. We are not just strong. We are MG strong. And together, we will achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal that Jane Ellsworth dreamed of 65 years ago, a world without myasthenia gravis. We're going to do it. Thank you.